Howard, my dad was T-boned by a utility vehicle and is in surgery now. What should I do?
I'm sorry to hear about that. It's really great that you're getting him the medical care and treatment that he needs right now. These are three important things that I think you need to know. Injuries are unexpected and turn lives upside down. I'm Howard Ankin, and I'm here to help. If you or a loved one have been hurt at work or in a car, truck, or rideshare accident, call 312-6-million. Injury law made personal. That's Ankin Law.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the Sox Machine Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Nelson, and this is a special edition episode as we're just within a couple of weeks away of the 2026 Major League Baseball draft that will be held on July 11th, part of Major League Baseball's All-Star Game festivities. On that note, thanks to all of our Sox Machine supporters, we will be sending James Fegan to Philadelphia to cover the All-Star Game festivities for us at Sox Machine. Tag along with hopefully multiple Chicago White Sox players representing the team in the Midsummer Classic. But for this episode, with the MLB Draft Combine completed, we don't see any more games, no more showcases, so we have a better understanding of what these prospects can and can't do. So we'll be previewing the upcoming MLB Draft, but also want to let you know that on July 11th, Sox Machine will be having our own MLB Draft show that will be streaming. You can watch us or listen to us while the MLB Draft is unfolding, again on Saturday, July 11th. Now, joining me to help preview the upcoming MLB Draft is one of our best friends of the show. From MLB.com, it's Jim Callis. And hello, Jim. How are you?
I'm doing good, Josh. I guess as we record this, are we 12 days from the draft? Is that where we are?
12 days.
Are you excited? Number one pick?
You know what? When I was going to bring this topic up with you, it's so funny how things have changed. Like when the White Sox won the draft lottery, it seemed like my task was easy, track Roch Cholowsky and Landon Thome. But Jim, we could be talking about the first place Chicago White Sox having the number one overall pick. And in the grand scheme of things, like this number one pick doesn't carry as much importance to the franchise as it did back in last December.
Yeah, I mean, I still think it carries the same importance, but it's funny because I do think most White Sox fans, and I probably would have said the most important day in 2026 for the White Sox will be July 11th. And it's still an important day, but you know, they've hung around this long and the AL Central is not a juggernaut, and they have a shot to make the playoffs, which we don't like. I always thought they'd be respectable this year, maybe get to 75 wins, you know, because they're bringing young talent. And then next year, maybe they'd kind of make a little run at the wild card. And a lot of times you see, I don't mean to rain a little bit on the parade, when they like the teams with a lot of young talent, I think get better more quickly, more often than not than we expect. Like they all like a year ahead of time. And then they take a little step back, and then they're good going forward. So I don't know if the White Sox take a little step back, but yeah, it is funny how, like, not only do we think, okay, July 11th is going to be the day it matters, just like I was joking, like, Shirley, like, can I put Roch Cholowsky and Landon Thome on the White Sox top 30 back in February? Can we go ahead and do that? And he laughed, but yeah, like a lot has changed since they won the draft lottery 6 months ago.
Now, last week was the MLB Draft Combine, and for podcast listeners and Sox Machine followers, you guys are aware of what the Combine is. You also know that the top prospects don't participate, so this is a great opportunity for some of those high schoolers that are maybe on the radar of teams in the late first round, Jim, to get one last chance to impress maybe some of those college hitters that we don't know exactly where to place in our top 150 or top 200 lists. So for this year's Draft Combine, how did it go in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because the Draft Combine does matter. Although I do think the most important aspects of Draft Combine for 99% of players, maybe 95% of players, are the interviews with teams, although they've talked to teams in a lot of cases beforehand, but just you get to talk to upper level guys maybe more than you would, and the medical exams. Like the on-field stuff doesn't really matter that much. Like if you're talking about a college hitter, those guys have all played 60 games. Like we've seen them play. There's video of every at-bat of those guys on Synergy and True Media. So just because a guy goes out, Caden Bogenpol, for instance, goes out and hits the ball 119 miles an hour. That's great. And I like Kane Bogapol, and he's a big athlete. But he hit 6 home runs this year, Missouri State, after hitting 21 as a freshman. So it's not like all of a sudden I'm like, oh, he hit the ball 119 miles an hour. I feel good that he's going to hit for power. And like I will say, the thing that was interesting this year is I think more of the top high school guys participated. Not Grady Emerson and Jacob Lombard, but you saw Trevor Condon, you saw Bo Lawrence, you saw Taj Marchand, you saw Aiden Ruiz, you saw Cole Prosek. Cole Prosek not only worked out, he played in the game on Monday night. They play it's more of a showcase style. It's not really a game where they roll innings and pitchers face X number of batters. And it was funny. I was shocked he played in the game because when he told me, I was like, "Oh, really? Why'd you play in the game?" He's like, "I was here. Why wouldn't I?" So I do think with the high school guys, at least, they like. And I know I was talking to one agent who represents a lot of the top high school players, and he's like, "These guys take BP and infield all the time. It's not going to hurt them, and they like to compete." So I don't know that stuff mattered, but I do think from a broadcast standpoint, I do think this was the best broadcast we've had in 6 years on MLB Network because you had a higher quality of players, especially on the high school side, actually participating in the workouts, and B, for whatever reason, we had, I think, it feels like in past years we've had 15 plus guys wired up from MLB Network, maybe more than that. And this year, I think there were only 9 people wired up, like from a commentating standpoint. And they focused a lot more on the players as opposed to, hey, here's Prince Fielder, or hey, here's CC Sabathia's son. It was like all prospects. And in particular, I enjoyed having Dan O'Dowd and Mike Rizzo at the desk, 2 longtime general managers, and Mike Rizzo was a longtime scout director. And then I thought, if anybody watched, you had Jim Thome, Xavier Scruggs, and Mike Lowell behind the batting cage. And I thought they were great, just breaking down players and grabbing players and talking to them. So I thought from a broadcast standpoint, it was the best broadcast we've done. And it was cool to see the Trevor Condons and the Bo Lawrences and Taj Marchands and all those, and Cole Prosek. I go on. It just seemed like I didn't count it up, but I bet if you took the top 10 high school hitters in the class, it felt like at least 6 or 7 of them were working out. And that's kind of unusual.
So after this combine, because there's no more college games, there's no more high school showcases for this draft class, it's pretty much it. So from now until draft day, it's all conversations and negotiations between teams and those players' representatives. Either that's family for high schoolers or now they can have agents. Do you have a better sense of the quality of this draft class after the combine, Jim?
I wouldn't say I have a better sense because I don't really think the combine, like I said, moved the needle. Like it's not like we saw a bunch of college pitchers. And even if the best college pitchers are all out there throwing 20 pitches, okay. But I mean, I think, I think it's a decent draft. And even if it's like, it's not like you think back to 2024 and how loaded that draft was with college players who are going to get to the big leagues almost overnight. It's not as strong as that, at least at the top first round. But and this isn't a bad draft, but even if it were a bad draft, there's good players in every draft. Like Tom, the scout directors, I'll always tell you, like, even if it's not, a great draft, their job is still the same, to go out and find the best players they can. So I think it's I think, just breaking down, like, thinking about it demographically, the high school pitchers are pretty strong. Oh, that's funny because that's the demographic that scares teams the most. The high school hitters, originally I was thinking they weren't that deep. It seems like more and more guys are emerging. So high school hitting crop is fine. The college hitting crop is interesting because there's a lot of depth to it. Although a lot of the guys have like a major hickey that it's hard to separate them after the top couple guys. And the college pitchers, I feel like maybe that's the weakest part. Like there's depth there, but there's almost a major question mark. Once you get past Jackson Flora, whoever you're talking about, there's a major question mark. But I think it's probably, I don't know, it feels like close to an average draft. And, the nice thing for the White Sox is, I think there's 2, maybe 3 players who separate themselves from everybody else. And because they're picking one, they can get one of those guys and take whichever one they want.
So since opening day, Milwaukee, we've been seeing White Sox fans with Roch Cholowsky White Sox jerseys. And they've been sold that this is what's going to be the number 1 pick in July. We'll get to that in a moment, podcast listeners. But as you can also read on Sox Machine, I updated my top 150 this class, and I made my case and why I have Grady Emerson number 1 over Roch Cholowsky. Jim,
I'm with you, Josh.
You are with me because I was going to ask, who is your number 1 prospect in this class?
I would take Grady Emerson number 1. Now, again, it's funny because like when you make a decision, and the White Sox are in the same boat, but where you have whoever's number 1 on your list, or I say something, you can only put, like, it's very close, but you can only pick one guy. You can't be like, well,
Right.
it's 52%. Like, and I just think if you're comparing those two guys, there's a couple things that stand out. One, if you look at the players at the same stage of their careers, which is fair comparison, Roch Cholowsky could have gotten first round money out of high school if he wanted to sign. But nobody was talking about Roch Cholowsky being the number one overall pick in the draft like they are with Grady Emerson. And I think if you compare those guys at the same stage of their careers, I think Grady Emerson's a better hitter with maybe a little bit more impact. He's definitely quicker. They're probably comparable defenders. I think if you, I don't know what the percentage would be. If you had 30 teams and you said, who has the most upside in this draft? I think Grady Emerson would win that poll. Um, of especially if you're comparing head to head to Roch. Now, that's not a knock on Roch. I do think Roch has obviously 3 years of track record at UCLA. He was probably a little bit better as a sophomore than as a junior, but he was still had a good junior season. I think the floor is higher because you've seen him hit against better competition. You've seen him like he's a really good defender. He's not, people don't rave about him like they did about Billy Carlson. Oh, the best high school shortstop I've ever seen. But like Roch might be able to step into the big leagues and play close to plus defense from day one. Like you have no doubt. Like you have to project Grady Emerson a little bit because you haven't seen him against bigger, stronger guys hitting the ball harder and running faster. But like I think Roch is an easy 60 defender. Like you don't have to worry about that. So I think it's neck and neck. I know I would err on the side of upside. And I always say it's easy, same thing for you, Josh. When we do these lists, we aren't giving $10 million to whoever we put number one on the list.
Right.
We're not going to lose our jobs if we say take player A over player B and player A is not good. Like we aren't, Matt Ishbia isn't going to come in and say, wait a minute, what was this down the road? So it's a little different, but I would give Grady Emerson a slight edge over Roch Cholowsky.
Okay, because there's White Sox fans that will push back a little bit and say, well, what happened in March? Because in March, you're telling me after that tournament against the SEC teams that you can go ahead and buy your Roch Cholowsky White Sox jerseys because he passed the toughest test that UCLA is going to have during the regular season, and he was crushing it early. So what changed between March and now coming into July, and why Cholowsky is not the number one overall prospect? And for me, I think
it's close. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm with you. Like the more that you see Grady Emerson and you look at the data, but also Jim, and you guys do an amazing job covering just prospects throughout all of Major League Baseball. It's the trend. A lot of your top 10 are really young players, guys who are 20 years or younger. And Roch Cholowsky's older than Caleb Bonnermer, who's currently the White Sox number one prospect in the farm system. Roch Cholowsky's facing 90-91 when facing Washington. Caleb Bonnermer is in Double-A. And Caleb Bonnermer's already accumulated more plate appearances against advanced pitching than Roch Cholowsky. And we've seen what Kevin McConnell has been doing for Detroit and what Connor Griffin has been doing for Pittsburgh. I just feel like also influencing my decision to put Emerson number one is more of the trend of Major League Baseball siding with youth than, I guess, quote unquote, older prospects, even though Roch Cholowsky is just 21. Does that make sense as far as influencing some of the thinking?
A little bit. I mean, I'm not so much worried about that because if Roch Cholowsky wanted to sign, he would have been drafted probably right around where Kevin McGonigal went. And he might be in the big leagues right now. And like, that's just a path not taken. For me, I think it's, you started to talk at the beginning of that Grady Emerson, just the more you watch him, the more you like him. I think it's more Grady Emerson moving up a little bit than Roch Cholowsky slumping. Now, I will say, and I am an SEC snob, and I went to Georgia, and I wear my love for Georgia and the SEC on my sleeve. The Big Ten's not very good. Like on one hand, it's probably the fourth or fifth best conference in college baseball. But I remember there was this somebody tweeted out about Roch Cholowsky's numbers on Friday night weren't very good, and I was like, it's more random because there's no first round picks pitching on Friday night in the Big Ten. Like maybe Mason Edwards at USC. That's it. Like I think the second, unless I'm forgetting somebody, Isaac Morton got hurt, so maybe Carson Yassa might be the next best Big Ten starter, and he's like, I don't know, fourth round pick. I don't think he's a big league starter. It's a really good arm. So I think maybe Roch, it's not prospect fatigue, but I also think Roch came into the year as okay, he's the biggest lock or strongest favorite to be number one coming into the year since Adley Rutschman in 2019. Adley Rutschman in 2019 went out and had an unbelievable year. He was the best player in the country. And Roch like, I don't know if it's fair, but measuring Roch against 2025 Roch wasn't quite as good. And he had a good year, but he didn't dominate and he didn't tear up Big Ten competition. And down the stretch, that whole lineup just seemed like they didn't hit the final month of the season. And they went from being number one from preseason through the regular season to, I think they won all three of their Big Ten. They won the Big Ten tournament, but I think all three games were walk-offs, right? Or last inning wins. Like they
Yes.
weren't like formidable. And then they got upset by a number 4 seed, I think twice, same team, number 4 seed in the regional. So I just think it's like in that part, I don't know that it's really fair to Roch because I think the tools are still the tools. But I think if Roch's years were flipped and he was very good last year and great this year, might be a little different. But I think in all, it more comes down to if you're tooling the players out. I think Grady Emerson's a little bit better. And like I said, the thing I keep getting hung up on is at the same stage of their careers because I mean, Grady Emerson's going to Texas, and that's the SEC. But let's say Grady Emerson didn't sign; he went to UCLA. I think he would destroy Big Ten pitching. He'd probably put up the same numbers that Roch Cholowsky put up for 3 years. So I just think trying to compare them at the same stages and the tools. I like Grady Emerson. I like the bat a little bit more. He's definitely quicker. I think they'll be comparable defenders in the long run. And again, I always err on the side of upside, and I would do that. And I think with the White Sox, I kind of like, and things will change. Like there'll be a lot of discussions, obviously, in the next 12 days. What I keep hearing is, I think, and it's not a vote, it's not a democracy in Chicago, but I think if the scouting decision makers voted, I think Grady Emerson would win that vote. But they don't like the scout, like especially number 1 overall pick. They don't just say, "Hey, Mike Shirley, do what you want. We'll be good with it." And Mike's very capable, but you're gonna have Chris Getz and guys who are higher up the food chain, assistant GM, special assistants weighing in. I don't know to what extent Jerry Reinsdorf will win. I don't know what to extent Ishbia. Like I don't know how much power Ishbia has right now. I would assume some. Like at some point he's putting money into the team, and and it's funny because you talked about how much has changed coming into the year too. Like even at the start of the season, I think the narrative was, okay, like the higher ups want a guy who like help quicker. This team needs a lot of help. So they want a guy who can get to the big leagues quicker. Well, again, I mean, I'm not saying this team, we're not buying playoff tickets yet, but this team is like right there in first place in the AL Central. So they don't need immediate help. So, and even the whole immediate help thing, like that's a terrible way. Like, I don't think I'd rather have the best return rather than the quickest return on my investment. So like I've never bought immediate help is a great way to draft. Like maybe if and they don't have a shortstop hole, maybe if they were in first place and they had the world's worst shortstop playing for them, and like not that Rock's gonna go straight to the big leagues, but like maybe if you had somebody who was the most advanced player of all time who was right in your lineup and filled a position in need, or you had Paul Skeens was out there and you're like, you know what, we'll take Paul Skeens and put him in the rotation, like which he would have been a good pick on talent. Like I could see that. But I think you're better off taking whoever you think the better player is. But I keep hearing the narrative that they may want a more advanced player with a little bit of a higher floor. So I feel like it's kind of, I don't know. It's either I keep like, is it 50% Roch, 40% Emerson, 10% Von Lackey, or it might be 45, 45, 10. I think it's close. And I don't know that we'll really know much in advance.
Yeah, I was recently in White Sox Weekly with Jeff Miller, and I made that same point, Jim. Like I have 45 for Cholowsky and Emerson and 10% Lackey. And Lackey he's very talented, but right now at this stage of the conversation, I think he is a distant third. And if the number 1 pick were tomorrow, I think I'd still bet that it would be Cholowsky because from a Chris Getz's point of view, who told a lot of people in spring training February that his advice from other teams that had number 1 pick is don't overthink it.
Yep, I've heard that too.
Did that second half of the Big Ten season for Roch Cholowsky, was it that bad that it changed Chris Getz's mind? I don't think it
wasn't that bad. Yeah. But it's like I said, it's funny because you just don't know. And it's funny, like I even remember going into like last year's draft, we didn't know who the Nationals were going to pick number 1. And it seemed like the 3 guys were Ethan Holiday, and it didn't seem like it was necessarily going to be Ethan Holiday, Kate Anderson, and Eli Willits. And I kept hearing, like, I don't know that it was they didn't want to deal with the Boris guy, because Scott Boras represented Ethan Holliday or Kate Anderson as much as they thought they could get a better financial value for the talent if they went with the non-Boras guy. But I remember, like, I thought Eli Willis was maybe, I don't remember what I said on the broadcast right before the draft, like 15%. They went number one. But it's like even those of us who do this, like, I spend way too many hours trying to figure out who's going number one and so on. We just aren't going to know. Like, it's the days of the teams would know like a week in advance and would tell you those days are gone. And it doesn't make sense unless, like let's say it's Roch Cholowsky. We'll just use him, or whoever you want to put in there. Unless they know, like, we want it to be Roch. Hey, Roch, we're going to give you X. And Roch says, hey, X would be great. And they work that out 3 days in advance. But it usually doesn't work that way. And the interesting thing is this year, Roch Cholowsky and Grady Emerson are represented by the same agency, which is the team, formerly Wasserman. So it's not like anything they're saying to one player, the other player won't know about. And I do wonder, not to take anything away from Von Lackey, I'm with you. I do think he's a distant third. I do wonder if the Von Lackey kind of being in the mix is almost like, hey, we could go in this other direction with a guy who's not represented by you guys. Like, I do think there's I think they have sincere interest in Von Lackey, who's a very good player, but also that's the way you have to play the game. Like at one point, it seemed like the three guys were Cholowsky, Emerson, and Jacob Lombard, who's another shortstop, who's also represented by the team. And I don't think a big league club ever wants, like, when they narrow the field down, to have all the players represented by the same agency, because then you really have no leverage over any of them where they're like, oh, like, what are they offering this guy or what are they offering that guy? Like, the team is going to know, Roch Cholowsky and Grady Emerson and their advisors are going to know exactly what the other guys being offered by the White Sox. So it'll be interesting.
And one of those representatives on the team is Jeff Samardzij's brother, Scott.
Sam.
So maybe Sam, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sam Samardzija. Yeah, Sam may know more on how the top five is going to go down than any of us or any of the MLB teams with the current negotiations. So what does your gut say? If the draft were 5 minutes from now, who would the White Sox take number one overall?
I still think it's Roch Cholowsky.
Me too.
But I feel like you said if you were betting, and I, of course, am not allowed to bet on anything related to Major League Baseball, or even, I think, partake of prediction markets. But man, I would not bet on it because I just don't know. It's like a coin flip. I mean, if you want to bet and flip a coin, but I feel like it's, I feel like it's kind of 45-45-10 or 50-40-10. Like if you take Von Lackey out of the mix, like I'd go maybe 51 Roch, 49 Emerson. Like I just don't know. And like it's funny. I'll say this now, and you can remind me of this later. On Friday night, I'll be sitting in Philadelphia trying to figure out who's going number one, and you'd be shaking my head, being like, "Well, we're just not going to know." So,
yeah, that's how I feel. We'll find out 5 minutes before.
We don't even do that anymore. Honestly, we don't even find out 5 minutes before anymore.
Oh man,
like a lot of times we find out when we're on MLB Network, they don't tell us the picks in advance because they want us to react naturally. The only time they'll tell us is if, like, when we're doing 4 rounds on MLB Network the first day. Well, not on MLB Network. We're doing 4 rounds the first day. They'll be on various rounds. Will be on NBC Sports, Peacock, MLB Network, and MLB.com. They're like, you're going to have to switch around. Anyway, they will let us know if, like, years ago when the Cubs took Hayden Simpson, they'll be like, does anybody have anything on Hayden Simpson? Like, if they aren't prepared for him. But other than that, they just have us react naturally. So, the White Sox will submit the pick like a minute or two before the commissioner announces it, but they won't even tell us then, unless there's no way the number one pick would be anybody we would not be prepared for. But we won't know. So like I'll be sitting there before the draft, like we have, I think, a 30-minute pre-draft show, and I'll be texting the whole time, like trying to find out, hey, who's going 1-1? But I don't know that I'm going to find out.
Well, James Fegan will be there representing Sox Machine, covering the MLB Draft and all the All-Star festivities in Philadelphia. So Sox Machine listeners, you'll get a chance to read some on-site coverage as well when the White Sox do make that number one pick. And Jim Margulis and I will be live streaming as well with our live reactions to the White Sox number one pick on Saturday, July 11th. I think what my next update on Sox Machine listeners is I have a feeling this could be the most contentious draft for White Sox fans because my gut also tells me, Jim, that Von Lackey might be the preferred choice for Tampa Bay at pick number 2, which means that whoever the White Sox don't take between Grady Emerson and Roch Cholowsky could very well go to the Minnesota Twins at pick number 3. So this debate between Cholowsky and Emerson will never end. And then we'll have on the field results and data and constantly compare these two players, somewhat like White Sox fans still do with Hagen Smith and Jack Paglione, but on a whole nother level because the White Sox are the number 1 pick. And did they make the right choice? So is my gut right? Is there a chance that either Cholowsky or Emerson could fall to the Twins at pick number 3?
I think there is. Like there's some. I also struggle. Like, who do the Rays take? Would the Rays take Lackey? And it's funny because people be like, "Oh, like they regret taking not taking Buster Posey with the number 1 pick." Like, really, 18 years later, we're gonna let like a decision.
That's a whole different front office too.
Yeah. Like, but like you hear that narrative, but I've talked to teams picking behind the Rays. One in particular that feels strongly that they're going to take Lackey, and that team, I asked the guy, like, how convicted are you? He's like, fairly convicted. And like, because the teams will talk to each other, so, or they see each other and they can read the tea leaves too. So yeah, I think, again, I mean, I had fun in the last solo mock draft I did a couple weeks ago when I was in Omaha. I did percentages of and at that point I had 50% Cholowsky, 40% Emerson, 10% Lackey. And then at Tampa Bay, I really wussed out and I went 35% Lackey and 32.5% for Cholowsky and Emerson. So I did various things. So I do feel like there's a decent chance. Like, it's, again, I think it's 50. This isn't fun. And we're not, I mean, there's more than guesswork that goes into this. But at the end of the day, we're kind of guessing because we don't know. I feel like it's 50-50 whether the Rays would take Von Lackey versus one of the shortstops. And yeah, leave a guy for the Twins. Like, the thing is, too, like, I know about, it seems like it was, I don't know, 4 or 6 weeks ago, you have this narrative, Roch Cholowsky doesn't want to play in Chicago. And I don't know where that came from. Mm-hmm. And, the Giants, they traded Patrick Bailey and they got extra money. The White Sox still have more money than the White Sox, the Giants, who are picking 4th. But the Giants will do anything for Roch Cholowsky, and they're going to throw all this money at him. And, what are the White Sox going to do? And one thing I keep trying to tell White Sox fans, the White Sox are going to take the guy they think is the best player. If they don't take Roch Cholowsky 1, it's not because Roch Cholowsky doesn't want to be in Chicago. It's not because Buster Posey spooked the White Sox. Like, the White Sox are going to take, the most important thing to remember with the White Sox is they are going to take the player they want to take. Like, they're going to offer this guy. The example I keep using is, the record for bonus is 9.3. I think the slot value for the number 1 pick is 11.5. Nobody's getting 11.5. Like, maybe you'll give the number 1 pick 9.5 or 10. We'll just say $10 million to keep it a round number. If you offer Roch Cholowsky $10 million and he has no desire to play in Chicago, and Buster Posey's telling him, we'll give you $15 million, which would be too high, but let's just say we'll give you $15 million, which is like 90% of our pool. The White Sox could still take Roch Cholowsky and be like, Roch, you got 2 choices. You could take $10 million, or you can go be a senior sign out of UCLA next year, or you could go to Indy Ball, whatever. Like, whoever they take is not going to turn down whatever the White Sox offer. The only thing that guy can do is that they want to be difficult, is say, okay, White Sox, I don't like this offer. I will accept it because I'm not going back to school, but I'll wait till 5 seconds before the deadline to accept it to tie up your extra money. Like that's basically all they can do. You want the guy to agree to a number that gives you enough time to spend the savings. But ultimately, the most important thing for White Sox fans to remember is, like, despite what narratives come out, they will take the guy they think is the best player.
And then when it comes to pick 41 throughout this draft season, I've gotten a chance to see Landon Thome 3 times. You could read those reports on SoxMachine.com. Took some video. I've seen him hit homered in 2 of those 3 games. And now I have a feeling he is not going to be on the board at pick 41. What's the latest that you're hearing with Landon Thome, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, so once in this draft, once you get past, like, there's kind of 6 guys who are ahead of everybody else and are going to go in the top 6 or 7 picks. And after that, you just get these wide ranges on guys, like guys who could go 7th to Orioles, or maybe they go 17. And then when you get down to, like, a guy like Landon Thome, I think is kind of in the, I'm not saying specifically, the Red Sox pick 20, so I'm not saying specifically, it's more general, like I'll say 20 to 41, because I really don't think he'd get past the White Sox at 41.
No.
And it's just like I had him going 22. Jonathan and I, our last mock draft, we did a combo effort at the combine because we're running around and we don't have the time. We all, like, Jonathan has it this week, and Jonathan will spend hours contacting people. And we're running around the combine. We don't do that. So we did kind of a joint combine where we alternate picks. And I gave Thome to the Detroit Tigers, another AL Central foe, at number 22. Now, that said, the Tigers are as close-mouthed as any team. And that was me going with type, hey, they like left-handed high school bats. So I gave him Landon Thome. I don't have like great insight, like, oh, they're definitely taking he's there. But I do think there's even some interest from the Padres at 21. There may be interest even a little bit above that. I just think he's such a good hitter. He's going to have at least average power. He's not a shortstop, but he's gotten better defensively to where I bet whoever drafts him plays him at shortstop at the beginning of his pro career. And I think coming into the year, before the season, the question was, can he stay in the dirt, or is he more of a left field first base type? And now I think you feel pretty good. Like, you know what? This guy can play second or third. So like, he's like, that's not going to be the bulk of his value, but he's going to have more positional value than you thought. And everybody loves the makeup. I don't think he's getting to 41. I don't think it's impossible, because also the thing is, for number 2, you're going to have some deals cut where the guy, like, guys are going to get taken who are ranked in the 30s, and they're going to get taken 18th, and it's going to push guys down. And so maybe the Tigers really do like Landon Thome and they really want him, but they look up, hey, there's a guy at 22 we didn't think was going to be there, and fall down. So I feel like he could get into the 30s. I don't think he can get to 41. And there were rumors that the White Sox are looking to trade for some of these, competitive balance pick. There are rumors that the Pirates would be willing to trade their pick, although they're kind of contending too. So I don't think they're going to just trade it for a prospect. I don't know. But yeah, if I had to guess, I don't think Thome is getting to 41.
I am with you. And of course, naturally, the next question is, who could go number 41 for the White Sox? And I'm not sure. There's not a easy or clear backup plan. Because to me, it makes sense with the bonus rule that they have that you would go prep and go over slot at pick 41. But we could see quite a bit of a run of the talented high schoolers going the late first round into the comp picks, Jim. So I'm not exactly sure what could be left over for the White Sox at pick 41.
I mean, I've heard names like Archer Horn.
Yeah.
He's a California high school infielder. But again, you like, at one point I predicted Archer Horn to go 22. It's just hard to know who's going to be there. I think like one name I've heard they like some is Jaron Avancula at Georgia Tech, who's like kind of a study in extremes. He had the second best batting average in Division I this year. It was like 430. He hit 477, I think, in ACC play. But it's extreme contact. He hits for super high average, but there are not exit velocities, and he chases. But like, he is a plus runner. He can play second base. It's like nothing's like, if you're doing Baseball Savant, it feels like everything would be bright red or bright blue. Like there'd be nothing in the middle. Like everything would be kind of extreme. But again, you just don't know who's going to be there. Like there's gonna be some high school pitchers who fall. I wonder, like a guy who I always feel like should be getting a little bit more love, and it just doesn't feel like could Daniel Jackson get to pick 41?
Well, that'd be
he'd be interesting. Like, I haven't looked. I mean, the joke we all make is just look at I haven't looked at the area code game roster from last year.
Oh, I have.
You have? I don't have it in front of me. But like their MO has been to take an area code guy with that second pick and give him like $2,997,500. Who do we got? Who are our candidates off the ACC?
So you got Bo Peterson, who dropped
too high. Can't take him. Can't take him.
Ethan Bass, who I've seen a couple of times this year.
I
think
like
that's
him.
a bit too high.
Little rich.
Yeah. Savion Sims, the righty from
too high. You can't take that guy there.
Dominic Santorelli, who was a draft combine
He's
highlight
intriguing,
reel.
but that feels a little high. A little high for a guy who might be a first baseman but has big power.
And then Sean Dunlap, the catcher from Crown Point. I think that's too high as well.
Too high. The one I threw out early in the year, because before they start taking area code game guys, which they don't necessarily take them in the second round, they also were like, let's take the SEC guy coming off elbow surgery. So here's my conspiracy theory. Carson Wiggins of Arkansas, former White Sox area code guy, also coming back from internal brace surgery. So you could hit both demographics. That's like I think like the last 5 White Sox second round picks, or at least the last 4, have either been area code or SEC guy coming off elbow surgery. This way you hit both demographics. So I'll make my Carson, and he has a great arm. And he threw at the
does.
combine. But yeah, I don't know. And like we've been stopping at 40 because the White Sox, I mean, like, the Dodgers' first pick is at 40, so we've been going 40 deep. But like when you're getting that deep, you're just throwing darts. And I don't know, like if we were to project, and I'm not, hopefully my editors aren't listening, so I'm not suggesting this. So we're gonna be like, oh, let's project the whole second round, which would be insane. Like if I had the time, it would be like I would text people at the White Sox and be like, hey, I'm projecting this player here. Is there, can you just tell me there's at least a chance? Like at that point, you're just hoping. My goal when we do these mocks and we project like when I'm projecting the sandwich picks is just tell me the guy's viable, because we don't know who's going to be there. I just don't want to put, hey, the Pirates are taking Josh Nelson at 34, and they had the Pirates say, we don't like that guy. We're not taking him. So that's kind of the threshold when you start getting to the 30s, is that there's a chance the team would take that guy if he were on the board. But I don't know. I haven't really heard much at 41. I talk to, we all make the same jokes about like I would say Landon Thome goes 20 to 40, but I always amend that to 20 to 41. I think he would about 99% be the pick if he was there at 41. I'll tell you who I would hope for if I were the White Sox. I like this guy. He didn't have the greatest spring. It was fine. I like Carson Bowman, the high school lefty from South Carolina, who coming the year I thought was the best pitcher in the draft. And the White Sox are going to have money.
Yeah.
That's who, if I were a White Sox fan, get me Grady Emerson and Roch Cholowsky with that number 1 pick, and then flip Bowman down. And Bowman also represented by the team. Float him down to 41. That would, but I just think there's too many teams that will take, again, you could say, hey, like I was talking about Buster Posey, like I'll just throw out a crate, like White Sox said, we'll give Carson Bowman $6 million, which they wouldn't give him that much. And they could say that, but if I'm the Royals picking at 30 or wherever I'm picking, and I like high school lefties, I just be like, that's great, Carson, but we're taking you and we're going to give you 3.5 or 4. You want to go to college or do you want to sign? So,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so easy, Josh, in the offseason. We knew Roch was going 1. We knew Thome was going 41. And now we're just not sure.
Yeah. And I went to Texas to see Roch. I went to Omaha to see Roch. I traveled
Did you
all
see
over.
Grady Emerson?
I
Did.
did.
Did you get a chance to talk to him?
Did not, because that was at the time that Rusty Greer was protecting him, and I understand that. Rusty was just very upfront. Like this high school still very new to Grady. There's a lot going on. We're early in the season, so I totally understood. But Rusty would talk my ear off.
And he's a great kid. I mean, like if Grady Emerson is the White Sox number 1 pick, I know. You guys do such a good job. So. I'm sure you'll have him on the podcast before the end of July at the latest. You will enjoy talking to him. He's tremendous.
Yes, I really do enjoy that interview that you guys had. You can listen to the questions that Grady Emerson did answer on the MLB Pipeline podcast. Highly recommended. It's always in my play list, especially when I'm hopping on the Peloton. So thank you to Jim and Jonathan Mayo to try to keep me in shape. I will say before we end this podcast, Dominic Santorelli and Jack Slightum, I'm looking at 3rd and 4th round for the White Sox as far as the area code guys. A little bit more confident in pick 77, pick 105 than pick 41. But
I like those guys. I was gonna say Santorelli is a slugger. He has some of the best high school power in this draft. Like he's a bigger guy. It's the old. He's more athletic than he looks, but he still might be a first baseman. I think the biggest question with him, and I will admit, I do not know signability of the guys yet. It's too early. Like 77 is about around where he should go. I just don't know. Like the White Sox will have money. I don't know what the White Sox would offer him. Like it may be tough to get him away from LSU. Like that may not just be. It's not just we take the guy at 77. He's going to sign, and then Slightum may go higher. Like you never know with high school pitchers, but I do think Slightum has kind of pushed himself into sounds like 7-figure range. And so
Okay.
you may like again, like if you took Jack Slayton in the fourth round, you aren't giving him fourth round money. But I don't know. And again, I don't know these numbers all. I don't know if Jack Slayton is he going to cost $1 million? Is he going to cost $1.5 million? Is he going to cost $2 million?
Right.
But like again, the White Sox with their bonus pool, and here's the fun part. So let's say you give, and again, I don't know if it's going to be 9.5 or 10 million, but I think that's going to be the range of the number one overall pick, and that'll be a record. So they're going to save like $1.5 million right there. Then because their bonus pool is almost $18 million, they can go 5% over, and they've done that. That's like another $900,000. So they're going to have after the first pick probably 1.9 to $2.4 million extra on top of their already big bonus pool to play with. So they probably can go big in rounds 2, 3, and 4. Like obviously the number one pick matters the most. And again, we agonize over it, but it's probably Roch versus Emerson when it comes down to it. You're going to get a very good shortstop, and they're very similar profiles. Grady's just a little bit quicker. But so like that's almost a given. You know you're getting a potential superstar shortstop with number one pick. It's what they do with the picks 2, 3, and 4 that I think is going to be really interesting.
Me too.
Because you could take that extra, we'll just round off and call it $2 million and throw it all at pick 41, or you could spread it out. Like you could do so many different things with that money that like there's going to be a lot of one of our many dogs is barking in the background. Like you could do so many things. So I'm looking at pick 41 is worth $2.5 million.
You can
So
go
if
up
you
to
pour all the
3.
money into that, you could go $4.5 million on that. But if let's say you give a guy 3, which is what they've normally done, okay, well we still have $1.5 million to play. So the 77 is worth 1.1 million. I could go I could go 2 million and still have money left over for the fourth rounders. So it'll be very interesting. Like I'm sure that's going to be very fun, or maybe harrowing, depending on your point of view. If you're with the White Sox, but there's so many different ways you can play that. But also trying to project like, okay, like our fourth round pick, like we could probably go, they could probably go like 1.25, 1.5 on the fourth round pick, pretty easy. But
Yeah.
like, who can we push to pick 4 to the fourth round? That's worth like so trying to figure out, okay, how do we want to divide up the money between these top 4 picks, and then how easy is it going to be to get guys to move down? It's fascinating. Like there's so many different ways they can play it.
It'll be a very fun weekend coming up again. The first round will be on Saturday, July 11th. The Chicago White Sox will be having a watch party at the stadium before their game against the Sacramento Athletics. Of course, that's also the same day as the Alumni Home Run Derby. Be
That's
many
cool.
ways to be able to watch
That's
for the
cool. I
MLB
didn't realize they
draft.
were doing a watch party. I like that.
Yes, at the stadium. So they're going to open the gates at 11:30, and the draft will start at 12:30. First pitch will be at 1 o'clock. So the Athletics will be warming up on the field, and the White Sox will be cheering.
There may be cheers or boos depending on what
That's true.
happens.
That is very true. Again, you can
Do you
follow
think
Jim. Oh, go ahead.
I had a question for you. I always have to ask you. Do you think even if they listen to this podcast, the White Sox fans are going to be disappointed if the team takes Grady Emerson based on all the hype that Roch Cholowsky's gotten?
Yes, I
I
do.
do too. I kind of feel too, and it's like I don't know. I feel like hopefully Grady Emerson's really, really good. And like I think there's going to be some slight disappointment, and I also think there's going to be this narrative that the White Sox were forced off a rock. And again, I don't think that's the case. I think if they take Grady Emerson, it's because they want a Grady Emerson.
Yes, I agree. There's a lot of excitement for Roch Cholowsky just because of the name. It's
Yeah,
it's great marketing. It's great hype. A lot of Southside Polish fans are ready to replace their AJ Brzezinski jerseys with Roch Cholowsky jerseys.
you can have both.
I
Come on, you can wear both.
You can.
You don't have to put AJ in the closet. Come on.
You can. But again, you can follow Jim on Twitter. He's at Jim Callis MLB. Again, listen to the MLB Pipeline podcast. He and Jonathan Mayo have been interviewing many of the top prospects. If you want to get a chance to know these top prospects, strongly recommend listening to those episodes, especially their episodes from the MLB Draft Combine. And of course, they'll be covering the MLB Draft every day, all the way up to draft day, and be able to watch the first round on NBC. Jim, as always, thank you so much for coming on the podcast to preview the MLB draft. I hope you have a blast covering it, and we'll chat shortly after the draft to see how the White Sox do.
Yeah, no, I always enjoy talking to Josh. Always ask good questions. I'm sure we'll talk afterwards. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing who winds up going number 1.